creatures crawl into the underworld. Afterlife, an abyss protects you. In the light, goddess of the sun brings you life. A deity, best it is her name. Come learn the ways of man, become one with the sand. The fate is in your hands. It's time to fight. You will rise, not fall. Never lose hope on the ground. We are one for all. The truth will always conquer. Capture the earth, chasing the mark. Get like mystical formation. Turn on the walls, beat on the drums. Let us claim this is war. In the dark, a river flows. The Nile is so big, power. A morning star is seen in our side. In the light, find your desert altar and your shrine. Look for peace, defeat the enemy. Run to the obelisk, defend this legacy. Fly to your destiny. It's time to fight. You will rise, not fall. Never lose hope on the ground. We are one for all. The truth will always conquer. Capture the earth, chasing the mark. Get like mystical formation. Turn on the walls, beat on the drums. Let us claim this. We rise higher, reach for the sky. Hold on to your weapons with pride. We rise up higher, conquer the ark. Get ready to fight for your life. We rise up. We are the kings, we're the queens. We are the gods, gotta stop this animation. Turn on the walls, make it our mark. 'Cause we are the kings, we're the queens. Let's win this war. In the dark, creatures crawl into the underworld. Afterlife, an abyss protects you. In the light, goddess of the sun brings you life. A deity, best it is her name. Come learn the ways of man, become one with the sand. The fate is in your hands. It's time to fight. You will rise, not fall. Never lose hope on the ground. We are one for all. The truth will always conquer. Capture the earth, chasing the mark. Get like mystical formation. Turn on the walls, beat on the drums. Let us claim this is war. In the dark, a river flows. The Nile is so big, power. A morning star is seen in our side. In the light, find your desert altar and your shrine. Look for peace, defeat the enemy. Run to the obelisk, defend this legacy. Fly to your destiny. It's time to fight. You will rise, not fall. Never lose hope on the ground. We are one for all. The truth will always conquer. Capture the earth, chasing the mark. Get like mystical formation. Turn on the walls, beat on the drums.
Hello, 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 governors. Welcome to Osiris League Season 8 Playoff Group Stage Round 2. I'm your host, Plauto Gaming caster and content creator for Rise of Kingdoms, and casting alongside me today is Brian Koo, a fellow content creator and first-time caster. Thanks for being here alongside me, man. How you doing?
Hi, Plauto. Hi, everybody. Another great match here in the 19 UTC time slot here in the Osiris League. 60 MX against DVL, and very much looking forward to this one.
Yeah, as Brian said, we are now in day 2 of the playoff group stages, where we will get to watch the best of the best in each realm compete for the title of Osiris League champions. And each of the teams here have worked super hard to get to the top 32 of their realms and is looking to take the next step towards being their realm's Osiris League champions by making it to the round of 16. This is the second match that we are casting today, and we will be in the realm of Anubis, DVL from Kingdom 2614 versus 60 MX from Kingdom 960. DVL are familiar faces as we casted their match last week against 1EE8, where though it was a close and entertaining game, they lost the game by about 1k points by provisions. So with this 0-1 record that they have now, they are now against the ropes as they are fighting for their Osiris League championship lives, as a loss here would guarantee that they would not advance to the knockout stage. And in their way is 60MX from Kingdom 960. 60MX is the second team up from 960, but they have always been competitive in Osiris League, making it to the top 16 each of the past 3 seasons and making it all the way to the finals in Season 5. Winning their last match against LX17, they are looking to secure their route to the top 16 yet again and ending DVL's Osiris League playoff run early. One team having everything to lose, another team with top 16 in their sights, both teams with a fight to see who will come out on top. Brian, what do you think of this matchup? DVL and 60MX, what are your thoughts so far?
Yeah, this is a really important matchup for both teams. We're looking at the group of death, Group F in Realm of Anubis. All 4 teams in this group are very, very good. And you said this was a make or break match for DVL. This is also a make or break match for 60MX, most likely. 60MX did win last week, but in the group of death, just because you beat one team doesn't mean much of anything. If 60MX loses to DVL today, then that puts them in a very bad position next week when they play Evil Empire, because DVL barely lost to Evil Empire last week. It was a super close match. So if 60MX is worse than DVL, then it stands to reason they will be worse than Evil Empire too. And so if 60MX can't beat either of those teams, they're not going to advance out of the group stage, which is pretty unheard of for a team that has finished in the top 4 at least twice in the Osiris League. Plauto, last week you cast the DVL versus Evil Empire match. On my own channel, I cast the 60MX against LX17 match. It was a very good match. 60MX won by about 12k points, but actually earlier today we have a really good reference point. Evil Empire played LX17 earlier today and won by 21,000 points, which is a significantly larger margin of victory than 60MX had last week. So based on that, I would probably say that 60MX DVL is maybe a bit of a favorite here, but at the same time, 60MX is a pretty new team. They're still getting the hang of things, and basically they just have to be a better team this week than they were last week. More organized, better at defending their buildings. And if they can do that, they certainly have a chance against DVL.
Yeah, DVL last week. I don't know if you watched it, Brian, but that match was a nail biter. And it actually came down to the provisions of 1EE8, where they're one of the best provisioning teams in the game. They ended up getting around 3.5 to 4k in provisions. And as I said earlier, it was around a 1.7k point differential. And that match was super, super close. So yeah, this matchup essentially kind of dictates how well 60MX has to get out of this bracket, and it keeps DVL in this playoff bracket. Because if DVL go down 0-2, there's no way they make it out of the group stage, especially, as you said, in this group of death. So, Brian, what do you think the biggest... Well, like you watched 60MX. Like, what do you think they need to work on from last week to this week to, be better and kind of challenge DVL in this game?
Well, they lost their buildings quite a bit last week. They were a dominant team mid, but they lost their buildings consistently. And, we saw a lot of buildings swapping hands even in the match earlier today, even with teams that are super organized like 93L, they nevertheless lost their buildings quite a bit. And that's pretty surprising to me, Plato. I mean, essentially watching these Osiris League matches so far this season, for me as someone who plans my own arcs, it has really upended the way I thought the meta of Arc of Osiris worked. I mean, I thought, people threw Gorgo Constantine or Gorgo Hera garrisons into buildings, and then they held their buildings very comfortably, and everything came down to mid. But in the matches we've seen in OL so far, there's been a lot of buildings being lost. And, I think for 60MX, just do a little bit better on the buildings than they did last week and just keep winning the mid fights over and over again. I don't think they need to reinvent the wheel from last week. Don't make huge strategy changes. Just, do the simple thing of win every mid fight, do okay on the sides, win the match, advance to the next round. I mean, they should probably keep it pretty simple. They've got very strong accounts, and let the accounts do the work.
All right, as we get into the game here, 60MX in the bottom right corner, all teleporting in. A lot of familiar names you might know. 960 being such a famous kingdom. We see Redline on 60MX. Used to cast Osiris League games as well. We have DVL in the top left corner here. And as you were saying, like, this is going to be such an interesting match, and win lane, win game is essentially the messaging that you were saying here. Last match,
I think win mid. Win mid. If whoever wins mid, it makes life simpler here. But we'll see.
Yeah, exactly. Last match, we saw 93L really focus on those outer lane structures. I'm gonna be curious if we're gonna be having a more standard opening here, where both teams will meet up at the Desert Altar, or if we're gonna be seeing some more trading of structures that we've seen in previous matches as the gates are about to go down. We see the T1 double C's start running out of these structures here. We see both teams pop energetic.
A little lag compared to yours. I'm just getting the gates open now. Let's see.
Both teams popping energetic. We see the sentries. Let's see the sentry placements from both teams here. Interesting. A pretty defensive sentry from 60MX. I'm going to be curious if 60MX could actually see that sentry. Just barely out of range here, so 60MX really looking towards having vision around this Desert Altar area. I'm not exactly too sure what they'll be able to see, and I think there'll be some room for DVL to actually sneak around and not see have undetected marches go towards the Sky Altar. The sentry placement on this bottom side, though, they are in sight, so
that's going to be a ward that 60MX should be able to kill. They should probably reach there first with their fast cavalry and be able to take out that blue ward.
It will be pretty interesting. Let's go look at the rallies here. I see 2 rallies. Is that correct? There's only 2 rallies?
I see one on each team.
Okay, so no rallies going to the opponent obelisks here. Walking straight out with the open field marches.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any other rallies either. I mean, I think that's an accurate indicator there. Pretty interesting. Have you normally been seeing fast cavalry rallies to a team's own obelisks? Because, there's certainly the potential for a fast T1 march to disrupt the enemy obelisk. On the top side, we see DVL's Akabi with their double C, and they are actually the double C from DVL is faster than anything on the 60MX side, and so Akabi could kill this DVL ward up top, but he's actually just going to the obelisk instead. But
Yeah.
you know, the 60MX rally is already there, so I would probably turn around and just kill this ward.
Yeah, usually you do see these defensive cav rallies just in case for the obelisk cheese. Even if you interrupt, for example, you interrupt the teleports of your opponents for a couple seconds, a couple minutes, it could mean a lot because, you know, these starting teleports, you really want to get your marches in there. And
Yeah, I wonder why Akabi's not turning around and just killing that ward.
Yeah, potentially maybe trying to see if the 60MX was caught sleeping. But they do have a garrison in there, so it looks like the sentry of 60MX will stay up, and we have GT Nook taking down the DVL sentry here. As I will go ahead and look at these desert altars, and they are facing it off right now. The DVL murder ball for their desert altar seems actually behind the desert altar.
Well, they're going to the sky altar. They're going outside. On the top side, they're going heavy to the sky altar. So
yeah,
they're kind of like even numbers to both inside and outside.
Yeah, I actually think DVL, interestingly enough, they're behind the desert altar, so this will potentially be a desert altar flip. And then they have a lot of presence around 60MX's sky altar. But 60MX seems to know that this is going to be a thing. They seem to have done their scouting reports and have quite a couple of marches here as well. So it won't be unprotected, the sky altar. Both teams here being super disciplined. The bottom desert altar, though, for 60MX is getting contested right now. DVL going into 60MX's murder ball.
Looks like a numbers advantage for 60MX here on the bottom side. Good positioning for 60MX. They don't need to get any farther forward here. You're seeing a lot of very strong meta marches here from both sides. The Herman primary quite often being used in front of the Zug. We see one Zug primary with the Herman behind, but it seems like Herman is the preferred choice in Ark of Osiris for those Archer open field murder balls. Joan primary certainly preferred over Nevsky primaries, but you also see some Nevskys here. We're seeing some Nevskys, so not everybody taking the time to change around their primary commanders, change around the gear, change around the armaments, and they're just being suboptimal with the Zug primaries or the Nevsky primaries.
The DVL desert altar taken by 60MX, first tap so far. They do have a garrison right next to it as well. They're probably screaming in VC, "Let us in, let me in." The garrison needs to get into the structure. There is a Heraclius fighting in the open field next to this desert altar. But
there
it does
must
look
be
like
room. There's got to be room in there. I blame the Heraclius. There's got to be room.
The Heraclius is, there you go, the Heraclius is now in this desert altar, so that is going to be a huge cap if they're able to hold the sky altar, but the sky altar is getting swarmed down by a lot of DVL marches. We have Gorgo with Heraclius as a garrison here. I don't know if they'll have enough reinforcements for this to hold their own sky altar, so it might be a trade of altars. We'll see if 60MX is able to clutch in some reinforcement marches, but it's looking not likely here.
You know, between the two, I think I prefer taking the outer sky altar, right? If you're going to trade altars, I think you want to be the group on the outside because you have a much better chance of actually getting the first capture. It's a real hassle to send a bunch of marches to retake this sky altar, because mid is only 5.5 minutes away. So, you know, DVL now takes that sky altar. Their presence is not amazing there, but if 60MX wants to get this first capture bonus, they're going to have to commit a lot of marches and a lot of players to take this thing back, and those players will not be able to participate in the first mid fight. On the other hand, I guess 60MX is going to get this Desert Altar because they are quite well postured up. They only have 75 seconds to go to get that first capture. And, you know, this is interesting. 60MX seems pretty strong in the field at this point. Maybe a slight advantage I would give them. I don't know. On the bottom side, once again, DVL is performing quite well. And this is something we saw last week from 60MX. Their top side was a lot stronger than their bottom side.
Yeah, it's super interesting to see these two different teams. And we were talking about how strong 60MX is around this Desert Altar, but at the same time, Arc is on a timer now. We have 4 minutes, 30 seconds till Arc spawns. All of these marches are half health. You want to sad face these marches as fast as possible and rotate mid. I feel like because they won the Desert Altar so convincingly, they're actually going to be delayed in the Arc mid rotation. You can see these marches are swarming down cities, desperately trying to sad face these marches so that they could refresh and rotate mid. It's actually going to make 60MX's timers a bit slower than DVL. We could start to see the DVL murder ball start rotating mid now from their spawn. Meanwhile, 60MX marches are still walking back to base.
Well, that is true, but if you look on the top side, outside lane, where DVL did successfully take that Sky Altar, they may or may not hold on to the first capture. There are a lot of DVL marches that still haven't died. There are at least half a dozen. There might be 10 DVL marches here that are on red health that still have not died, and they're just not going to get to mid in time. They might, I mean, if they teleported, they might get there on time, get there late. But it's the same issue for both teams. They actually did manage to get these first captures, but it is going to screw up their mid fight a little bit. And that's the trade. That's the very interesting trade that happens at the beginning of these Arc of Osiris matches. Go ahead.
DVL actually didn't get the Sky Altar first capture. 60MX still has Sky Altar first capture available for them. Desert Altar first capture was taken by 60MX though.
Lost just like that. Yep.
So it will be potentially a good trade for 60MX. If the only thing that we're trading are these first occupation points, both teams are going to be slow in their rotation mid, then 60MX won that battle because they're able to take first occupation from the Desert Altar. Meanwhile, the Sky Altar had around 30 seconds left before DVL would have gotten the 750 points. So that's a huge amount of points given to 60MX by their ability to take the Desert Altar, not only take the Desert Altar rather, but take it super fast to where even when DVL could respond, they already had first capture by the time, and they were able to hold their Sky Altar, so by the time they could respond with their marches, DVL didn't get first capture points. So that's the point differential right now you see on the board.
Yeah, one other wrinkle in the points right now is that on the bottom end, the Shrine of Life I don't think has been first captured yet. At the very least, DVL has disrupted that Shrine of Life quite a bit. They just lost it back. They're either still fighting for first capture down there, or it's in 60MX's hands. But you know, I think 60MX also was able to rotate mid a bit faster. They were able to mobilize faster just because their marches died at that Desert Altar faster than DVL died at the Sky Altar. So 60MX is postured up at the mid, at the temple. They do have a siege march here. We saw this last week as well, Nook with the Margaret, what's the secondary guy's name? Bobber? Anyway, it's a nice siege march. Yeah, Margaret Bobber here with the siege march. The DVL marches are staying out of range, and look, I think that the siege marches in Arc are actually profitable. I think it's profitable to send these things mid. I think if you get like 30 seconds of free shots at the enemy, you'll reduce one march by about half. And then if you figure once the fight starts and you kind of leave the siege on the edge, you're going to get at least another 30 seconds of shooting. So you're going to eliminate at least one march with your siege every time. And
that's pretty interesting. So interesting.
And like here, they're just keeping them off the temple. Like, well, okay. So a couple things here. First of all, DVL does not have great vision mid. They have some vision of the marches coming, but I don't think they can see the actual temple. They don't know that 60MX is literally right at the temple.
Master strategies. Wait, there's a master strategies to 60MX's obelisk here. What are they planning to do? They're planning to take 60MX's obelisk.
Big plays.
60MX's obelisk is under contention. They have a bunch of marches coming from the bottom side here, coming from the Shrine of Life, beelining to this obelisk. They're like, okay, let's sack this first arc, let's get control of this obelisk, and let's swarm down these cities. What is going on here, Brian?
Well, I think it's an interesting choice. I'm guessing that they made a very impromptu decision here where they were just saying, listen, mid does not look good. We're out of position. The enemy has the temple. They have numbers. We've got master strategy. We've got all these points. Let's not use a mid, and let's warp to this obelisk. We can take the obelisk. We can disrupt the teleports. We'll get some... listen, they're going to be able to teleport cities in. Now, the question is, Plato, do you teleport cities in? Because, listen, when you teleport cities, it doesn't just disrupt the enemy team, it also disrupts your own team. Because those players are sort of like out of commission, they're just busy swarming cities, they don't really do a whole lot else. So, this is super disruptive, and I have to imagine they're going to teleport cities in here, that they're going to hold this obelisk and teleport cities in. But you can see that these marches are just standing around. Like, all of this army is not accomplishing a whole lot at this moment. And then you teleport cities in, and the question is, how much can you accomplish against 60MX with cities at their obelisk?
I think they have to teleport cities in. They have to teleport their biggest players here and try to teleport off these cities. And the thing is, like, if they do take this obelisk, and it looks like they will be able to, they teleport cities, and they teleport out cities, it'll make 60MX have super long walk times from this spawn, and they'll be losing teleports essentially without their obelisk here. So, and it also gives more teleports to DVL. DVL will get an extra, I believe, 8 teleports for capturing this obelisk. So they're sacking the points for now. They're like, okay, we're going for this obelisk play. And they're probably going to try to split this map and teleport out these cities, and then try to win the game from that position where 60MX will kind of feel like they're trapped. They'll feel like they're in a corner in that bottom right obelisk, rather.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that they are going to be able to teleport any of these cities out, because these players are just going to gem the heal of their city over and over again. You can just keep gemming your wall back to full health, and I just don't think they're gonna... I mean, it's 50 gems. It literally costs 50 gems to extinguish your wall and not get teleported out.
And they're teleporting in now, though. It's teleporting in now. 200 million power player. We have 200 million power player. They are swarming down the 85 million power players, it looks like.
Worth noting that 60MX has taken the Shrine of War. They took the obelisk and they took the Shrine of War. The Shrine of War flipped back. So, it's... listen, I think this is good for DVL, but this is not like a home run. This is not a home run that DVL has landed here, because I just don't think they're going to get rid of these cities. They're going to just be super disruptive. This is going to be an incredibly disruptive match. It's going to be totally unlike other Arc matches. But you still have to play the rest of the map. All the other buildings still count. The top side is probably just going to completely ignore this. The top side will likely just be kind of a standard game. And then the bottom side is going to be chaos. And right now, DVL has 3 of the 4 buildings on the, or 4 of the 5 buildings on the bottom side. Although 60MX did just take their obelisk back.
Yeah, chat saying it's like what 2244 did against 60MX last season, and I was actually able to cast that game. What happened was 2244 did a pretty similar strategy where they used master strategies during the first arc, took the obelisk, and then the only thing about 60MX versus 60GT is 60GT cities are all like 300 million power players. These cities are swarmable still. You see 84 million power, you see 82 million power. These cities can be swarmed down, and it'll cost a lot of healing speed ups for these guys. But we'll have to see how disruptive this could actually be. We have 4 cities that teleported in there. They were able to recapture this obelisk, and as you said, like they might be able to stabilize this if if they just keep to their game plan in this top side and this bottom side, just try to, you know, deal with the 4 cities that are 100, 200 million power player in their back door constantly.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's an easier execution for DVL here just because they've teleported in the exact right players. These are probably their 4 biggest whales. I'd be curious to know if any players from the top side teleported down here. I bet that someone from the top side teleported down here. And, you know, they can just keep swarming. These DVL whales can keep swarming these 85 million power cities. They're doing that right now. The 85 million power cities have to keep extinguishing their wall, and they have to keep some degree of troops at home, so they can't have 5 marches out in the field reinforcing and, you know, working the map and working mid.
There are cities getting teleported out still. So I saw one city get teleported out.
Yep,
there you go.
Yep, Yaxa.
They teleported back in. So if anything, it's disrupting the teleports, right? Because like they're using teleports for cities that were already there. So it's just a super disruptive top side here, where because they're aggressing onto this obelisk, it's kind of like the best defense is a good offense, right? Where you see all these 60 MX marches here, and now they can't defend their own desert altar because there's so many marches around their obelisk, right?
Yeah, it's you know, these 4 DVL cities are probably not going to be going mid for the rest of the match. They're just going to be staying at this obelisk. And can these 4 cities lock down more than 4 cities of 60 MX? And I think the answer you have to say is yes. Like, they're going to lock down more cities than exists on the DVL portion of this. But, and so, you know, it feels pretty good for DVL here, right? The swarming, I mean, and the swarming is like devastating, right? Like these marches from DVL are just like not even losing health quickly. You know, if your city's getting swarmed, you have to stay at home. If your buddy's city's getting swarmed, then you bring your marches out and try to kill the swarmers. It's certainly hectic, and you know, if you're on voice chat with all these players, I almost think you just don't even talk about this part. You just like let the players just play, and then you worry about the rest of the map and coordinating on the rest of the map, because, you know, I mean, DVL has now taken the desert altar on the bottom side. They are very close to taking the Shrine of Life. Like, this looks the momentum is very good for DVL here on the bottom side of the map.
I will say though, on the top side of the map though, DVL lost their desert altar. The desert altar is creating points for 60 MX. So I was trying to say this is like an investment for DVL, right? They sacked the first arc. They sacked, it looks like, the desert altar. You potentially, some people from this top side teleported down to this bottom side. So it isn't, you know, free, but we'll have to see if this disruption throughout the rest of the game will rattle 60 MX and their game plan, and if this will, you know, prove to be a difference maker throughout the rest of the game. We still have 36 minutes left. There is a 6k point differential right now, almost double the amount of points going to 60 MX, and they're winning points per minute right now. So it looks bad, but at the same time, 60 MX is still winning the game right now.
Interesting that 60 MX has 2 teleports right now. You'd think they would be the ones that are starved for the teleports. One of their players on the bottom side, Yaxa, has gotten teleported out a few times. Looks like he's teleported back in again, but Yaxa's just not, you know, he's not healing, he or she is not healing fast enough to avoid getting teleported out, and that's very costly. Like, this one player is burning a lot of the teleports for 60 MX, just getting back to their spot. When you see the other cities for 60 MX are able to stay, you know, they're able to extinguish their wall and stay. But, you know, I have not been in this situation, but just looking at it, I just think these 4 DVL whales are just going to get an incredible amount of value. Another player getting ported out now. And, you know, DVL is just going to have all their players forward, and 60 MX is going to have a bunch of cities stuck in the starting zone. Even now you can see 60 MX has a lot more cities in the start zone than DVL does. Next arc is 6 minutes, by the way.
Yeah, 6 minutes left until this last arc, this next arc. We're actually seeing some really early rotations today. We're starting to see some DVL marches go towards this arc. I definitely think this arc is going to be a win condition for DVL. With them sacking that first arc, and they didn't really gain a point advantage, they gained more so a positioning advantage, you would say, like a teleport advantage, maybe?
Yeah, an extreme positioning advantage, like one of the most significant positioning advantages we've ever seen, where literally 4 enemy whales are in 60MX's backyard.
Yeah, so we'll have to see, because if 60MX is still able to take control of this arc, hold this arc, then it's going to be really troublesome for DVL, because they're even like you were talking about, they have teleports. Yes, they have teleports in 60MX's backyard, as you said, but they lost their Sky Altar to, it looks like, 1 player here. So they're still, you know, with a bunch of people concentrated around this obelisk, concentrated on swarming down cities, it takes away players for that, you know, would be garrisoning the Sky Altar, for example, or would be defending opponent Desert Altar, for example. So
Shrine of Life. Check out the Shrine of Life on DVL. Like Redline with 3 marches with 2 marches, can Redline swarm down this Shrine of Life on the bottom side? Like everyone is just doing weird stuff. They're not doing the normal thing. Redline's going to get this Shrine of Life down with his 2 marches. That's super productive. But if DVL had put like 3 marches in there instead of 2, maybe they hold the structure. So it's just everyone's doing weird things, and you just gotta like get value for your marches.
It's such chaos, because you know you say you're an arc leader, right? So you kind of have these like, oh, this is what you do, kind of this explanation. This is what's gonna fill the structure, who's gonna fill the structure. When you have an obelisk capture like that, everything goes out the window, because it's just like, all right, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and the VCs and the calls must be going crazy for DVL and 60MX here, as we start to see, you know, they're still slowing down some cities here from DVL, but the real question, in my opinion, is what do they gain from swarming down these cities? Because they keep recapturing this obelisk, and yes, it's denying some of the cities from 60MX to teleporting in a frontal position here, but at the same time, these marches are not doing anything to gain points for DVL, which may prove to be the difference. As you know, you see all these 60MX marches that, all right, our cities are getting swarmed, we don't care, we're just gonna go mid.
They're going mid.
We're just gonna go mid. We're just gonna take the Desert Altar and go mid. We're gonna go for these points, because points are essentially what gets you the win, not kills. So
yeah, you know, the mobilization for 60MX to mid is very good right now. They have a ton of marches going mid, way more marches going mid than DVL has. And, you know, that's largely because DVL is over at the obelisk, and they're doing, but it's like, what is DVL really accomplishing at the obelisk at this point? I mean, I feel like maybe these whales should have like walked mid with 60MX and like, you know, hacked them on the, like attacked them on the way or something like that, right? So yeah, it's you know, mid, you know, 60MX is kind of doing what they need to do, is what it looks like to me at the moment. They're mobilizing mid. They have the numbers advantage mid. Let's see if they can pull it off. Like if you're the whales, if you're the DVL whales, don't you like walk mid now? You know, even though you're late, don't you just like start walking mid and try to like hit them from the back?
I feel like if you teleported here, you're kind of just stuck to this plan of, we have to take all of these cities out. We have to hold this obelisk, because they've been. It's like it's like
the sunk cost fallacy.
Sunk cost fallacy, exactly. Where they spend so much time and they spend so much resources here. We have to do something with this pressure. We have to do stuff here, and you know, if they want to walk mid, then they wouldn't have sacked that first arc and teleported their marches there. So it's just like, we have to continue having this pressure on the Desert Altar and around the obelisk, rather. We could go ahead and look at the points per minute. 60MX, even with, you know, those whales in their back door, it's back to even, essentially, to 20 points per minute to 60MX, and they currently have the lead, and it looks like they have the lead in mid as well.
Yeah, it looks like a numbers advantage for 60MX, although it's not too It doesn't seem overwhelming. Maybe DVL can compete here, but 60MX is like a very, very good mid team. Bogged down from both teams. Dust
Heaven's
Up.
Grace.
You're a little bit ahead of me. Go ahead and cast. You're a little ahead of me.
Yeah, we have Dust Up, we have Bogged Down, and Heaven's Grace for DVL. So same skills except Heaven's Grace used from DVL. So DVL will have a little bit of an advantage. Although Bogged Down does counter Heaven's Grace quite a bit, reducing the healing of marches inside the bog by 50%. It does look like, though, DVL is taking advantage of this. As soon as I say that, there are 5 sad faces coming out from DVL, so it's still going to be a really, really close fight. DVL, in my opinion, kind of have a positioning advantage where the murder ball is pushed towards 60MX's side. It'll be a toss-up of 50-50 to see who can get first pull. Arc is going to spawn in 4 seconds here. It is going to be who is going to come down to who gets the first tap. I think I see a 60MX March taking this arc here. 5 seconds to go. We'll have to see if 60MX is able to get this pull. It's going to be absolutely huge. 60MX has the pull. Nook.
Yep.
60MX Nook pulling away with the arc. Oh, he's walking. They're walking the other way.
Yeah, it looks like the arc's on DVL's side here. You know, Plato, man, those whales who are just swarming multi-city, which is a full city. They're not even swarming the cities that don't have troops. Imagine if those whales all walked mid. Imagine if they had walked mid 2 minutes ago. This is a very close arc right here. Very, very close arc. Looks like maybe 60MX has a slight advantage here. But man, those whales, it'd be really nice to have 4 150 million power plus whales at this mid fight.
Yeah, it does look like this mid fight is getting cleaned up by 60MX. The blue dots are dwindling. They are sad facing back home. The sad face speedometer here going towards 60MX's favor, where they are sad facing their opponents.
Margaret survived. Margaret's still in there. She's just
there you go.
held away.
Invest in Siege Commanders confirmed. Where we do have the arc carrier here carrying the arc smartly to the top side, to their top side, because imagine if they brought the arc to the bottom side obelisk where all of this chaos is going. But that means that 60MX knows, or DVL knows exactly where 60MX is going with the arc. We'll have to see if they're going to be able to have a counterplay here and take the arc in the backswing as we start to see some DVL marches rotate over to the Desert Altar, tap this Desert Altar and take it on the way there, and then probably rotate over and swing around to try to capture this 60MX arc.
Is a master strategy a skill that you can only use once per match?
It is.
Okay, so no more warping for DVL, and they're gonna have to. They really need to get this arc somehow because, well, 60. There's always going to be a third arc, right? So 60MX. There's 27 minutes left. They can hold this thing for about 15 minutes. That will mean that there's, maybe 3 minutes on the final arc run.
Oh my
goodness. At that point, 60MX is going to have a huge lead. It's very hard for DVL to come back at this point. They need to try to grab this arc, I think.
They have to get this arc, in my opinion. Exactly. If 60MX get this arc, the point differential will almost be 10k at that point. It's going to be so hard for DVL to come back, but it looks like there aren't enough marches here. Riley coming super, super close to the Shrine of War. All they have to do is get into the Shrine of War, and 60MX have a huge grip, a huge hole in this game. It is a red Nevsky here for 40k, 30k. It's going to be so close. 30k left. Are you going to be able to get into the structure? DVL takes the shrine, actually.
It's a game of inches until the shrine gets taken. And now they have some decent numbers here. DVL with some decent numbers here. This shrine's going to go back and forth. Very, very close situation here. Everyone wants to grab this arc, and you just hope that when you grab the arc, your team has the shrine. Numbers-wise, who has the advantage here? It looks like it's awfully close, but it looks like 60MX has maybe a couple more marches than DVL does, which bodes well, because 60MX can just, make sure they have the shrine. As long as you have the shrine, disaster can be avoided. And I think DVL got a little bit distracted by the arc there. You know, they all went for the arc, and 60MX really focused on that shrine, taking it back and filling it up and putting a friggin' Hera
Captured.
YSS in there.
It's captured.
And now it is captured by 60MX. DVL
Wow.
made a nice run at it, though. You know, they made a nice run at it right there.
I can't believe that Shrine of War flipped. If
There
DVL,
was like no one in there. Like, how do you not fill that up?
if DVL was able to steal that arc, that would have been play of the game. But 60MX being able to hold themselves from heartbreak, able to take that arc, super close margins though. And as you said, we have another arc. 7 minutes until we have this same tango all over again. In the meanwhile though, 3 altars going to DVL. It actually looks like some of the cities from the 60MX obelisk TP'd out. So we might be seeing some more of a standard play here from the DVL side. But yeah, they do have 2 altars
Somebody
here.
did teleport out, yeah.
Points per minute, it is in DVL's favor for now. 60MX though, holding this Desert Altar is going to be a pretty big play for them. This counter push, all of these marches came to defend the Arc, and they just went over to the Desert Altar, and they were able to take this Desert Altar from DVL. At this point, Brian, what do you think DVL has to do to get back to this game?
Well, they've forced another arc. They at least, with that pressure, they've at least forced a 3rd arc, potentially a 4th arc if they're really quick about it. I think, you know what? I think you just have to take over the bottom side of the map. They have taken over the bottom side of the map, and that gives you a really good points advantage. The top side should be even. You know, they should be able to at least hold their own buildings on the top side, even though right now the Desert Altar is in 60MX's hands and they have good defense there. But, you know, you just take over the bottom side of the map if you're DVL. You have worn down these 90 million players on 60MX whose cities have been swarmed over and over and over again. And, you know, they're just like healing nonstop. They're burning through speed ups. So, you know, attrition is starting to kick in for 60MX on the bottom side. So you just take over the bottom side, you get the points advantage there, and then you have to get at least 1 more arc, but probably 2 more arcs.
Yeah, 2 more arcs without master strategies would be so hard for DVL to take, for DVL to do. I definitely think your point of they have to hold all 4 of these structures in this bottom side. There's no rhyme or reason that they should be losing those structures, especially with how much resources that they allocated early on in the game, sacking the first arc so that they could get this teleport advantage. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cities in the bottom side for 60MX. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, all 15 cities for DVL. So they have a city advantage. But they just
look
have
at
to
how
hold
many
these
cities
structures.
are in the 60MX start zone. Look at how many 60MX cities are still in the start zone.
8 cities is crazy for them.
Pretty crazy.
But
So-
perhaps because
that helps the arc. That helps the
Yeah.
next arc, you know? They have more teleports forward, so they have a real advantage on this next arc if they all go there. But, you know, that last arc, I really think those whales needed to go mid. They just didn't accomplish enough at this obelisk. And three of them are still here. You know, one question is like, if they hadn't taken this obelisk, would they have taken over the bottom side of the map anyway? Because, you know, the 60MX side is a little bit weaker on the bottom side. And you just wonder, like, could DVL have just dominated the bottom side even without this obelisk capture? You know, we'll never know the answer, but
wow,
you know,
DVL losing the Desert Altar, 60MX's Desert Altar is huge. 60MX, even though we were talking about they don't have that many players here, these players have been swarmed down the whole match. I actually think the bottom side of 60MX is what is keeping them in this game, where they're poised, they're focused on the structures, they're focused on the objectives here, which is the reason why they've been able to flip the Desert Altar over and over and over again. This hasn't been a free Desert Altar. And in the meanwhile, you said the top side's strong. Top side's been maintaining and holding the opponent Desert Altar this whole time. I will say perhaps because this bottom side has been so contested, it allowed for the top side of 60MX to just, you know, have an advantage here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 cities to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 cities. So yeah, they've been having this they have the teleport advantage for DVL, but they haven't been able to translate that to any meaningful leads or any points.
No, it looks like they might translate it to an arc capture on this third one. They have certainly mobilized to the mid faster than 60MX. 60MX is going to have some trouble getting to mid on time. You know, all these cities on the top side that are suiciding on blue cities, some of them are probably back in the start zone and have a long walk to mid. So, you know, the territorial advantage, the teleport advantage is starting to manifest with some mid stuff. But it's just, you know, that second arc, it was a very close fight. You know, that was a very long second arc fight. And if DVL had managed to win that one and played this bottom side a little bit differently, you know, we would be in a very different situation here for the third arc. But as it is, DVL has to win this third arc just to have a long shot chance to get back in this match.
And we're getting to the state where 60MX have such a big lead now to where they could essentially just focus on one thing and they probably still win the game. If they want to focus on structures, they could probably win the game off structures. If they want to focus on mid, they could win this mid fight and you know, if they win this mid fight, then they could just hold the arc for the rest of the game and there won't be another arc that spawns. So DVL have to respond because DVL can't just give up on the structure game as well as the mid game. The structure game is going super poorly for DVL. 260 points per minute to 340. 3 alters in control of 60MX so far. It's looking really die for them.
Redline rallied down the Sky Altar on the bottom side. A Justinian rally came through with a garrison that only had 1 million troops in there. So, you know, 60MX kind of picked their spots on the bottom lane, got a lot of the buildings back.
Ooh, wait. We got To the Death and Dust Up used. Bog Down used by DVL. This mid fight is so far back from the temple here. DVL saying, okay, we are in a disadvantage. We have to start this fight now. We have to protect this arc now and make sure that we have free reign to bring this arc home, insta capture it, and potentially fight for a 4th arc. But 60MX here, they're trying to send some marches towards this mid fight here. They're trying to send some marches past the fight because the fight is so far away from the temple. They're just bypassing this fight and trying to go straight for the arc gatherers here, for the arc carriers rather. It's such an interesting placement of where DVL decided to fight. I'm gonna be curious to see if they're actually gonna be able to get a free pull here, or if the fight is so far away that 60MX could actually disrupt the arc carrier.
I think it's a great call by DVL to attack when they did, where they did. They're essentially accomplishing 2 things at once. Number one, they had the numbers advantage, and so they went in early using the numbers advantage. And 2, like you said, they are keeping 60MX away from the temple so they can get the cleaner run of the arc, so they can get a faster return of the arc. So, you know, it's just it's a nice play by DVL, in all honesty, where they just accomplished quite a bit with this throwing Bog down on the 60MX side of the map. They're cleaning up the fight now. They've got the arc, clean grab of the arc, and
I don't know. The shark of 60 GT, because the murder ball was so far into 60 GT's side, the reinforcements for 60 GT were around 10 to 15 seconds faster than the latecomers of DVL. So now the DVL murder ball, sad-faced, and 60 GT, like Predator, is hunting like a predator is hunting down this arc, and
DVL get through the gauntlet,
is running for their lives. They have to get through this gauntlet. That is true. Let us see if they're gonna be able to protect this arc, protect the arc carrier, protect the president, because this arc is essentially for your Osiris League play-in stage here, or knockout stage rather.
Yep,
the arc carrier is down. Now with the arc carrier down, 60MX being able to pull it towards them for a little bit here is huge. They're delaying this arc, and that's all 60MX has to do. They know that DVL is going for this arc strategy, so they're like, okay, all we gotta do is delay it, try to make it so that there won't be a fourth arc that spawns, or if there is, it'll be super hard for them to capture. And they're just winning on the other parts of the map. They're winning in points per minute, and they already have a 10k point lead. So it's kind of tough.
They played it very well, right? You know, 60MX played it well. Even this arc, even this arc that they've lost, they're playing well by, you know, having a really good second push here. They're going to delay the heck out of this arc being returned to the point where there might be another arc, but there's going to literally be like 1 minute left where, you know, as we discussed earlier, if you have a minute left, you're just not going to be able to return it in time. So, you know, 60MX doing enough mid here. But, you know, those numbers mid, Plato, like that fight that we just looked at mid, DVL had a slight advantage in the numbers game, but it wasn't like huge. And we're seeing DVL win this. I just keep going back to the idea that if DVL had played this match straight up, does it turn out differently? Just because they've been able to compete with 60MX quite well in a number of ways. Even without some of their whales. I mean, they still have 3 whales back at this obelisk. You know, they're not even killing the cities anymore. They're fighting at the buildings over there. But
they're walking past and just running straight towards the desert altar. It's funny, the marches are like walking side by side. They have a truce until they hit the desert altar, it seems, from the DVL and 60MX side. So the teleports in that early play, I do feel like actually was bad for DVL. To answer your question, you said if they played straight up, I think the game would have been in a lot different state for DVL if they didn't go for that master strategies play. One, because they sacked the arc, but two, they didn't really gain too much from the teleports there. They did gain, you know, some alternate control, but 60MX was able to kind of find the weaknesses and find the gaps of DVL and just capture the desert altar when they could.
yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, you play arc enough and you get these situations where the enemy does teleport in on you. Arc down, they're gonna try to reset it and steal it.
Was able to take the arc there for a second. Could have been a bit scarier, but crisis averted.
Yeah, you know, it's just. But the thing is like if this master strategy attack on an obelisk didn't work, where you're literally able to teleport in 4 whales on the sort of weaker side of the enemy's map, and you still can't accomplish that much, then what's the point of, you know, actually taking the enemy obelisk and teleporting cities in? If it didn't work here, when is it really going to work?
I definitely think it works for less organized teams. For teams that, you know, they might panic. But when we're in the top, when we're playing against, you know, 60MX, who have, even though the team composition is different, 960's been, you know, successful in Anubis for so long, even though it's with 60GT. 60MX also made the finals previously. So, you know, they probably scrim against each other as well. They probably have some practice time. It probably doesn't work. It probably works. The strategy works with maybe 70-80% of the teams that are in this game, but or in Osiris League. But against 60MX, I feel like 60MX just knew exactly what to do. They had the same thing happen to them. Well, 60GT did last year with 2244. So I'm sure they had some players or some leadership, some guidance from the 60MX players to be like, okay, this is what we do. This is the game plan. Just keep focused on these structures. Keep focused on these arcs, and that's how you win the game, even if you're getting swarmed down the whole game.
Yeah, it's a hairy situation to just have, you know, that red flashing indicator of your city being swarmed over and over again. You just keep, you know, in most arc matches you hardly ever go into your city to heal, but these players on the bottom end for 60MX were just non-stop healing, non-stop gemming their wall back. But you know, they did what they needed to do, and the rest of their team played a normal Arc game and took the buildings, grabbed the Arc. But you know, listen, at the end of the day, we got a very good show from DVL here. I'm glad they did it. This was a great exercise in seeing what happens when a very good team teleports right in your face. And 60MX gave a good exercise in how you deal with it. You just play the game anyway. It's still Arc. You still score points in ways other than swarming cities. And you just need to never forget that when these things are happening.
I think the name of the game is like it was kind of like a countdown where DVL just didn't get enough from their teleports. Like from those teleports, you would want a full bottom side control, full lane control. They shouldn't be able to take your Sky Altar. They shouldn't be able to take your Desert Altar. But yeah, just 60MX just so focused with their approach and with their coordination. It's like, all right, we're just gonna keep playing the game regardless, and the point differential just kept getting more and more and more. We could go ahead and look at the point breakdown. They were winning in Occupation, Arc, and Provisions, 60MX, and if you win in those three things, the three ways to get points, then you're obviously gonna win.
Yeah, a lot more healing though as well. A lot more healing from 60MX, like a crazy amount of healing. I might have gotten disconnected here. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it would be a crazy amount of healing. Oh my goodness, 44.
Yeah, it's a big number. It's a big number, but I don't think 960 is in KVK right now, so they can afford it.
They can afford it. I mean, it is a big sacrifice. It is a pretty interesting. We could take a step back here, and it's a like this is their make or break game, DVL. You know, with them losing this game, if they, I mean, we could pretty confidently say that when they lose this game, they are officially out of knockout stage contention. Like, like, would you take that risk? Would you take a risk to make that strategy, or would you just go with the tried and true what you know? And in your opinion, Brian, what would you do?
You know, I really respect the aggressiveness and the boldness of the play. I also respect the execution of the play. They actually executed the obelisk capture very well. I just think, and they couldn't have known this before, but I just think at the end of the day, it's just like a very low probability of success. Like, even if you execute it well, even if you have the courage to make the play, I just think it doesn't work often enough that it's like a smart thing to do. But I don't know that they would have, I mean, would they have known that ahead of time? I feel like when this happened, Plato, when we were looking at it, we were a little skeptical. Like, we were excited about what was going to happen, but we kind of called it from the start that this doesn't I mean, I changed my mind a little bit midway through, but we didn't say this changed the game entirely. I believe we explicitly said this is not a home run for DVL. And so it's a bold play, but man, it just doesn't work enough. It just doesn't work enough to warp like that.
Man, I mean, it had potential. I definitely think there is room in other matches where it could work, but I feel like they gave up too much to do so, and they didn't get enough. Where, like, the top lane shouldn't have been disrupted at all, but they were losing the Desert Altar quite a bit. And then they weren't able to hold the opponent Desert Altar throughout that match. As we start to see this mid fight happen, DVL using Heaven's Grace here as well as Dust Up, I believe. So this mid fight with 2 minutes 30 seconds left, DVL having their final mid fight potentially of this game here. So it's going to be so interesting to see, like, you know, if we see other teams go for this obelisk play. Maybe this is going to be a way for, or a sign for teams not to go for too crazy of an obelisk play, because you have to keep in mind they brought their whole bottom lane from the outer lane, like from the Fog of War, as well as teleporting a bunch of marches from their top lane with master strategies. 50 marches from the top, I mean 30 marches rather from the top lane with master strategies. I feel like you do one or the other perhaps, because you know that 60MX is all mid, but they sent like pretty much every single one of their marches to that the obelisk, and that ended up being the big troublemaker for them.
Yeah, it might have been a bit of overkill on the marches, but you know that's a tough thing to gauge. One thing we have not talked about is that DVL is from, I believe, Kingdom 2614. So they were in the realm of Bastet last season. They finished in the top 16 in the realm of Bastet, and now they're moving up to Anubis. You know, they've moved up to a higher level of competition, and you know, not to disparage any realms, but that's, you know, that teleport strategy, that warp strategy, is the kind of thing that may have worked in Bastet last season, but it's not going to work in Anubis. It's not going to work in the Anubis group of death against a team that has won or that's finished in the top 4 of Osiris League twice in the past. Now, maybe that's why they did it. Maybe they were so intimidated by 60MX that they're like, we have to take this risky play in order to have a chance to win. And that may be true. You know, the kill points are a little bit on 60MX's side. It's hard to decide how much of that has to do with the cities. But I don't know, DVL competed pretty well overall here, so yeah, you know, hey, they're a new team to Anubis, and you know, welcome to the new world, young team here.
And in my opinion, like it has been Horus being the hardest, Anubis, then Basset, and then Sobek, I believe, is the last one. But in my opinion, I think Anubis is the hardest realm this season, compared to Horus, with so many different teams here, and yeah, it is definitely going to be an eye-opening awakening where they were so close last game, 1k point differential that last game against 1E8, and now against 60MX, you know, that the teleport strategy did not work as intended. It's going to be pretty interesting to see what they choose to do in their next couple of next match next week, and to see how they improve and all that kind of stuff. Down 0-2 is tough, and it's going to be really tough for them to I guess come back for it, because this is going to be their season here. Like, what would you do, Brian, if you're down 0-2 in your group? Like, what do you do to, I guess, bring up morale, or what's the verbiage that you talk to your team?
Well, listen, I mean, they're going to play LX17 next week. LX17 lost by a medium amount to both 60MX and Evil Empire. So, you know, DVL can go and place LX17 in a match that doesn't have any long-term ramifications. They can play that match straight up and see how they do. And you know, that might be tilting because, quite frankly, DVL almost beat Evil Empire last week. So if they blow out LX17 and 60MX loses to Evil Empire, DVL is going to be like, well, maybe we just should have played a straight up game against 60MX and we would have advanced out of pool play. But I don't know. I think DVL, you know, is going to be a pretty big favorite against LX17 next week. They'll finish the group of death 1 and 2, having lost by like 1,000 points last week. And I think you can hold your heads up high after that as a team that just entered Anubis and did very well. And I think I heard you say that a few weeks ago, Plato, that Anubis was the strongest realm nowadays. And as an old school player who has always been in Horus, it was a little bit, you know, I perked up when you said that. But I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, 1V is gone from Horus. JST is a bit reduced from Horus, and you know, these new are like 2489 and 2429. They just went from Bastet to Anubis. They're new to Anubis this season.
I believe so. Yeah. So the reason why I'm saying Anubis is so strong is the 2 Grand Prix finalists in 2489, and you know, it's not going to be the full team, obviously, because Grand Prix you could have any player from any kingdom in your team, and I'm sure, you know, there were some players from other kingdoms, but you know, the core of 2489, and we also have 60 GT, both of those teams being in the Grand Prix, are in the same realm for Osiris League. Is going to be pretty crazy to see how the playoffs play out. And yeah, there's a lot of strong teams in this realm here as we start to see this last arc being contested. 60MX just having a victory lap here around this arc. We start to see some DVL marches just going in there trying to contest this arc, but even if they capture it, it is going to be 60MX's game here. I'm just super impressed with 60MX and how focused they were with all the shenanigans. The plans go out the door at that point, but they were just like super poised and focused. It's like, all right, you teleport into our obelisk, we're just gonna keep playing Rise of Kingdoms, we're just gonna keep playing Osiris League normally. And you know, that takes a lot of dedication and a lot of thoughts. Like their leadership in the voice calls probably had to make plays on the fly, make calls on the fly as the game is now over. GG's to both teams. DVL, this is probably one of the players that teleported in with Ragnar with 366k individual score, but you can see from the scoreboard, Arc of Osiris score going 960's favor, Occupation score going 960's favor, and Provision score is going 960's favor. Brian, do you have any final words about the game before we call it off?
Well, you know, a good match, a very bold, aggressive play by DVL, made it interesting for all of us. 60MX, you know, Plato, you said you were very impressed by what they did. One thing you'll learn about me is I'm a bit of a contrarian. And to me, 60MX holding that obelisk area on the bottom side, I don't think was that complicated. I think you just hit the gem button over and over again and heal your wall. So, you know, 60MX, we'll see how they do against Evil Empire next week. I think this team, it's to be decided just how strong and just how coordinated 60MX is going to be this season. But we will certainly get many more opportunities to watch this team because they will now are pretty much guaranteed to advance to the knockout stage. And they're certainly one of the more interesting teams to watch. A lot of good action, a lot of big name players, and, you know, TBD.
Alrighty. Well, that is going to be it from us, folks. Be sure to subscribe to the official Rise of Kingdoms channel. Subscribe to here if you want more Osiris League content. And if you want to watch Brian and I fight against each other this Wednesday in KVK, be sure to subscribe to our channels. We are linked in the description. And we'll catch you guys later.